Hi, my name is William. I'm a sophomore in computer science, and here at Mines I'm involved in crew, FCA, and 2 a cappella groups. I study computer science because I love solving problems and having the ability to create new programs. I welcome you to this CS at Mines Python video. Today we are going to talk about the basics of using lists in Python. But first, let's start with a hip array. Actually, Python does not have built-in support for arrays. But Python lists can be used instead. We will see in this video that Python lists are a very useful tool, similar to arrays in Java, C++, and other programming languages. Let's start by defining exactly what a list is and how you can create one in Python. A list is a built-in data structure that allows you to store and access a sequence of elements. There are 2 ways to create a list in Python. The first way uses the list function, and the second way uses the bracket notation, similar to how arrays are declared in other languages. Which way you use depends on personal preference. The 2 examples on this slide both create an empty list. Unlike other languages, a Python list can contain many different types of objects in the list. You can declare a list with integers, strings, booleans, floats, and even other lists, as shown in the example on this slide. Each list can contain any combination of these data types. As you might imagine, there are many different functions in Python that allow you to modify and use lists. For example, the append function adds an element to the end of the list. The first example on this slide shows how you would add the integer 7 to an existing list called list2. Lists can also be concatenated, or joined together, by simply adding the 2 lists together. The second example on this slide shows a list of numbers and a list of letters that are concatenated together and printed. In this example, the numbers in the numbers list are printed before the letters in the letters list. In the previous slide, we had numbers plus letters. What happens here when the command is letters plus numbers? And what will be printed with the second example shown? Spend a moment thinking about the answers to these 2 questions. Are you ready? In short, order matters when combining lists. In other words, the second list will always be added to the end of the first list, and any new list item appended to the list will go to the end of the list. Let's now talk about list indexing. The index of an item is the position of that item in the list. In Python and most other programming languages, lists are indexed starting from 0. This means that the letter A in this example has an index of 0. B has an index of 1, C has an index of 2, and so on. Indexing works in reverse as well. That is, the last item of a list could be accessed by its positive index, 5 in this example, or by an index of -1, as shown in the slide. Then the next to last item could be accessed by -2, etc. Accessing an item in a list is done by typing the name of that list and the index of the item in square brackets. Lastly, we note that wrapping around or using negative indices only works once. Thus, in this example, accessing an item at index -7 would cause an error since A is at -6. The last topic of this video is list slicing. Suppose you have the list shown here, and you wanted a subset of the list for items TMI, LOL, and 17. You can get that sublist by using list slicing. We suggest you spend a few minutes looking at the examples on this slide and notice the sublists that are printed. We hope you now have a good understanding of the basics of lists in Python. We encourage you to practice creating lists, adding items to lists, accessing items in a list by index, and slicing lists. The more you practice, the better you will get. Thanks for tuning in. See you around campus.